Well, it's Sunday, 1 week to go to the big trust meeting that's coming up. If you haven't got your tickets, do whatever you've got to do to get them, or you booked your place or whatever. There's very few places left, if any. They might all have gone now, but you still got a chance to try and get them. And the reason I'm starting off with that is because, as you can see here, 52% of OAPs will lose their homes under Tory dementia tax plans. Average house price in England, 234,000. Want to leave it to your kids? Leave your savings to your kids. Go into care. All they get is 100,000 max. Everything else goes. Voting Tory, enjoy. Your kids won't. And of course, one thing that could save you in this situation is by putting your property into a trust. And once it's matured long enough, I think it's 6 years, then it's untouchable. It needs to be a certain type of trust. This you will find out a week today if you're been lucky enough to get to the meeting, which the doors open at 11 and I think the talk starts at 11:45. There'll be break for lunch, and well, we've got multiple speakers, is all you need to know. 1. If walking is good for your health, the postman would be immortal. 2. A whale swims all day, only eats fish, only drinks water and is fat. 3. A rabbit only eats vegetables, runs and hops all day long and only lives 5 years. 4. A tortoise doesn't run and does nothing energetic, yet it lives 450 years. And you tell me to exercise? I don't think so. Vaccine injury payout in 2019 is $72,657,067.53. But vaccine injury is rare, right? No one feared a measles infection until after the vaccine was invented. No one feared a mumps infection until after the vaccine was infected. No one feared a chickenpox infection until after the vaccine was infected. There is a pattern. It has a purpose. 200 million children in the world today sleep in the streets. None are Cuban. When a mainstreamer is confronted with the truth, he will instinctively recall his mainstream sound bites and regurgitate them on demand, just as he has been trained to do so by his television. You fucking anti-Semite, you fucking conspiracy theorist nutjob, you fucking tinfoil hat prick. This tantrum-like reaction is the result of an underdeveloped ego that is struggling to mature and cope in the real world, a world that is clearly far removed from the mainstream Disneyland fairy tale he was promised as a child. You're looking skinny, mate. You on the pipe? No, mate. Universal credit. The most stunning medical quote ever made by a Harvard professor, Dr. Herbert Lee, former commissioner of the US FDA. The FDA protects the big drug companies and is subsequently rewarded. And using the government's police powers, they attack those who threaten the big drug companies. The thing that bugs me is that people think that the FDA is protecting them. It isn't. What the FDA is doing and what the public think it is doing are as different as night and day. Roses are red. Big Pharma sucks. Vaccines are why your kid is allergic to nuts. Georgia businessman who was pictured holding a gun and standing over 2 dead baby elephants insists he killed the creatures in self-defense when they charged him after social media backlash targeted his business. Warning, disturbing content. Top Gen Energy partner Mike Gins is seen holding a gun over 2 dead elephants. The hunt took place in October 2018 and photos were shared online in January. Social media users have called the photos horrible and sickening. Some have threatened Gins and others have called for boycott of his company. Jin is now claiming that the 2 elephants were shot dead in self-defense. Look at that photo. Does that look like self-defense, or that looks like we're proud we've killed 2 defenseless animals? A Georgian businessman was pictured hot. Miles Ginn, a partner with Top Gen Energy in Elfett, Georgia, made the claim after the photo went viral on social media and critics started targeting his business. Thousands of social media users have accused Ginn's and professional hunter Max Buzz Delzane of killing 2 baby elephants on an African trophy hunt in Zimbabwe. Their heads should be on a wall somewhere, the pair of them. Sadiq Khan, the racist. There are too many white men on transport for London. That is racist. This piece of shit needs sending back to his own country. London Transport Authority is far too dominated by white men, Labour's mayoral candidate Sadiq Khan said today. There are currently 13 white men on Transport for London board and just 3 women. Khan said he would ensure the board better reflected the diversity of Londoners if he becomes mayor. This was 2016, March 2016. I will reshape TfL's board, he said during a speech in Brixton this morning. It needs to better reflect London's diversity in the interests of Londoners. Did you know there are 16 people on the board of TfL? Sadiq Khan wants to piss off back to his own country. Winston Churchill was serial paedophile who liked buggering young boys. All the establishment are paedophiles. Winston Churchill was a prolific paedophile who enjoyed buggering young boys, according to exclusive diary entries. Sir John Rupert Jock Colville, from British civil servants to Churchill, exposed the former wartime Prime Minister in a series of shocking diary extracts. Truth News reports Churchill had huge gambling, drinking and whoring bills, and Jock Colville claimed he usually insisted on ginger-haired prostitutes, so they brought him a ginger tomcat at a private joke. Churchill's Sandhurst file, the original and proper one, lists him as a confined sodomite and a menace to the young boys, courtesy of Guy Burgess diaries. This waywardness allowed Churchill to be used by the bankers under the carrot of and stick. You do as we say and you get paid X amount. You don't do as we say and we ruin you. In World War I, Churchill took bankers' cash in the name of Colonel Arden, and World War II, his secretary said several names were used. Mr. A. Connors was all alleged to be just one. How Britain came to be in the EU under such disastrous terms was because Edward Heath was alleged a coprophilic. He would regularly take boys from certain care homes away on his boat for weekends. His sheets had to be perfectly white, clean, ironed and perfumed. Heath's obsession with this made the boat name Morning Cloud the subject of many in-house jokes. Nevertheless, he was seriously warned 4 times by the police for hanging around public toilets. Special branch had to appoint a man especially to protect him. It was Liberal Party leader Jeremy Thorpe's threat to bring down Edward Heath and a big bunch of other politicians which got him off the Norman Scott attempted murder court case. The name Mr. Eddie was well known on Hampstead Heath and the boys' homes nearby in the 70s. They're all feeding off our children. Marie Ressa's arrest spells more trouble for press freedom in inaccessible, increasingly liberal Asia. The arrest of Marie Ressa, a Time Person of the Year, award-winning journalist and frequent critic of Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte, has renewed fears for the future of press freedom in the Southeast Asian nation and around the region. Ressa, co-founder of online news outlet Rappler and former CNN bureau chief, was arrested in connection with cyber libel charges against her media company on Wednesday, which critics decree as politically motivated. She posted bail the following day after spending a night in custody. Rappler's extensive reporting of Duterte's brutal war on drugs was earned praise from human rights advocates, but that has become made it a target for Durat's administration and his supporters. Last year, the government temporarily revoked Rappler's operating licence and charged it with tax evasion. The Israeli lobby is the deep state. Now we know who the evil criminals are, we know who to go after. This week, The Intercept reported on the firestorm created by Republic Ilhan Omar when she audaciously cited the AIPAC lobby of being behind a political smear campaign against her, the Intercept reported. Rep Ilhan Omar D. Min responded sharply back to reports that Republican leader Kevin McCarthy was targeting both Omar and fellow Muslim Rep Rashid Tlaib, a Democrat from Michigan. Omar quotes her rap lyrics, "It's all about the Benjamins, baby," to suggest McCarthy's move was driven by the lobby's prolific spending. Asked specifically who she was referring to, Omar responded, AIPAC. In this report, they are also linked to numerous undercover investigations that produced audio and videotapes of AIPAC political operatives funneling money to Israel-friendly politicians and government insiders as a means to sway national opinion. The report quotes a conversation on the tape as follows. We know who the problem is. Let's take them down. Are banks guilty of faking signatures on British court papers? And I can confirm the answer to this is yes, they are. A new campaign group claims the practice is taking place on an industrial scale. Have some banks or their legal representatives been faking signatures on UK court documents used to repossess people's homes to recover other debts? It's a serious charge, but a new campaign group claims there has been alleged industrial scale forgery of signatures, and the bank signature forgery campaign has some powerful supporters in its high places. The all-party parliamentary group on fair business banking, a cross-party group of MPs and peers, publicly voiced its support this month, as did the high-profile police and crime commissioner for Thames Valley, Anthony Stansfeld. Meanwhile, a signature expert told Guardian Money the whole thing is, basically, yeah, they forge signatures all the time to steal your property. French police fire tear gas to deter yellow vest protests mark third month of chaos. And where's the outcry from the British government? If this had been in Syria, this is disgraceful, using chemical weapons on civilians. Let's go and bomb them to pieces. But because it's France, not a word. Not a word. Police in France have fired tear gas at yellow vest protesters in a desperate bid to deter demonstrations from the movement to mark 3 consecutive months of chaos in Paris, triggering fresh turmoil for French President traitor and puppet Emmanuel Macron. Demonstrations celebrated 3 consecutive months of violence. They didn't cause the violence. The police and the agent provocateurs causing all the violence. In the French capital, which had kicked off in November last year in protests of Mr. Macron, the traitor, crippling austerity that resulted in a 23% fuel hike, just like our treasonous bastards. More than 9 deaths and a cluster of wrecked Paris landmarks. Later, revolters donned their high-vis jackets once again and marched through Paris, setting off blue flares this morning in the 14th week of mayhem, which saw police use tear gas to try and suppress them. You know, any other country, there'd be an uproar. There's not a single country that I'm aware of, apart from Italy, that's condemned the French government. Yellow Vest movement protests in France for 14th. Large-scale protests erupted in France on the 17th November 2018 in the wake of the government's decision to raise fuel prices and increase fuel taxes. All these taxes just go to Rothschilds. Even though the French authorities later scrapped their plans, the Yellow Vest protesters, dissatisfied with the government's social policies, have continued to rally across the country. The Yellow Vests are rallying for the 14th straight weekend in Paris and other major French cities in on 16th of February. According to French TV channel LCI, about 1,300 police officers, gendarmes and firefighters have been injured since the movement launched. What about the yellow vests that have been injured? I believe it's way more than that. And the deaths. Yeah, deaths. The French Stasi have been killing the French public. Nothing said. Nothing, not important. Flybmi goes into administration, blames Brexit uncertainty. Passengers are being told not to come to the airport unless they have rebooked flights with alternative providers. Regional airline Flybmi has gone into administration and cancelled all its flights. The British company, which flew 17 regional jet aircraft on routes to 25 European cities, says Brexit has been a major factor in its demise. Oh yeah, well, what else can we blame? I'm surprised they didn't blame the Russians, but we'll leave them with blaming Brexit for the time being. A total of 376 people based in the UK, Germany, Sweden, Belgium works for the airline, and their jobs now at risk. Thousands of holidaymakers have had their plans thrown into disarray, with the airline taking down its full website and replacing it with a statement. In 2018, Flybmi had carried 522,000 passengers on 29,000 flights. West Midlands Police Inspector sentenced for indecent images. This was the 14th, February 14th, 2019. Inspector Lee Bartram was found with more than 450 indecent images of children on his devices. A former police inspector who admitted making and distributing more than 450. So he's a trafficker. He's a child image trafficker. Indecent images of children has been given a suspended sentence. You steal a bag of sweets, you go to prison, but this sick, perverted piece of shit has been trafficking children photos, indecent children photos, and he gets a suspended sentence. Lee Bartram, 44, who was based in Birmingham for West Midlands Police, also filmed a young boy while on duty. Last September, he was found guilty of gross misconduct and sacked from the force. He was given 16-month jail sentence, suspended for 2 years, and a 10-year sexual harm prevention order. A hearing at Wolverhampton Crown Court was told Bartram had uploaded illegal pictures to the Tumblr photo sharing website, which led to his arrest last August. You see, they're not just dirty, filthy perverts. They're idiots as well. Speaking of perverts, 7,000 paedophiles found guilty. 2,862 of them aren't jailed. Soft-touch judges are letting thousands of child sex offenders off with just a slap on the wrist. No justice system. Out of almost 7,000 paedophiles found guilty of sexual activity with children, a shocking 2,862 avoid prison, more than 40%. Most were given community service, while 605 received suspended sentences and 41 got only a fine. Another 1,700 sex offenders got away with police caution last year, according to government figures. Those given cautions are more likely to face jail in future after guidelines to give victims the right to challenge police decisions through the courts were unveiled last week. But the muddled system was attacked by Peter Saunders, Chief Executive of the National Association of People Abused in Childhood. He said, a lot of the judiciary don't understand the catastrophic nature of the crime and the damage it does. If more of them understood, they would say, if you commit this crime, you are going to jail for a long time. Gridlock. Traffic jams cost drivers in Britain and the biggest cities more than £1,600 each last year. London motorists were hardest hit, facing an average of 61 hours stuck on the most clogged road with an average peak time speed of 7 miles per hour. Traffic jams costing Britain, London motorists were hardest hit, So, what are they going to do about it then? Oh, nothing, because it makes them money. Governments and councils must be destroyed. Pope defrocks top US cardinal Theodore McCarrick after church found him guilty of sexually abusing minors and soliciting sex during confessions. Pope Francis has defrocked a former US cardinal after a church found him guilty of sexual abuse on minors. Theodore McCarrick, a once powerful figure who once led the Archdiocese of Washington, was accused of sexually abusing 3 minors. The Vatican said Mr. McCormick was found guilty of soliciting in the sacrament of confession and sins against the Sixth Commandment with minors and adults. Mr. McCarrick had denied the allegations, saying he had absolutely no recollection of his reported abuse. One of the victims, James Green, said he was happy that the Pope believed me. He said pressure needed to be put on attorney generals and senators to change the statute of limitations so that historical allegations could be investigated. The punishment for the prelate was announced 5 days before Francis Lee's gathering of bishops helped to church grapple with sexual abuse crisis. McCarrick, who liked to be called Uncle Ted by his victims, has become the highest ranking churchman to be laicized or dismissed from the clerical state. Pope Francis has defrocked yet. Theodore McCarrick, 88, who's once led the Archdiocese of Washington and was a powerful figure in the Catholic Church in the US, was accused of sexually abusing 3 minors and harassing adults, seminars and priests. He was also found guilty by the Vatican Congregation from the doctrine of the faith of soliciting sex while hearing confessions, the Holy See said in a statement on Saturday. They're all involved with it, it's not just one. Anti-terror police officer 38 tracked down 14-year-old girl's address using social media and climbed into her bedroom window before raping her. Peter Drummond from Berkshire appeared at Truro Crown Court in Cornwall. Jury heard how Drummond was able to find victims' address through an app. He's faced with 3 charges of rape and 3 of sexual activity with a child. An anti-terror police officer, constable, raped a teenager in her home after tracking her down using a social media app, a court heard. Peter Drummond, 38, allegedly drove to the 14-year-old girl's home twice and on one occasion climbed through her bedroom window before raping her. Drummond from Berkshire appeared at Truro Crown Court in Cornwall for trial. They're all at it. Blow to privatisation as probation services as 3 companies collapse into administration. So what you take from this is the government has privatised it, give it to these companies who's gone crash. Where's all the money gone? Oh, we lost it. Who's to blame? Government, every single time. The government's part privatisation programme of the probation service has suffered a blow as 3 private community rehabilitation companies, CRCs, in the southwest have gone into administration. The services are designed to help rehabilitate offenders when they leave prisons. Wales CRC, Bristol, Gloucestershire, Somerset and Wiltshire CRC, and Dorset, Devon and Cornwall CRC are affected companies. UK fracking industry pushing for review on earthquake limits. Firms say regulations forcing operators to stop if they trigger tremors above 0.5 magnitude threat liability. It's banned in almost every other country. Why would we allow it here unless we're run by sadistic, satanic paedophiles, which we are? The UK's nascent fracking firms are headed for a crunch moment that will determine whether the industry has a future, according to observers and insiders. The past fortnight has seen a concentrated lobbying drive by 2 of the leading shell companies calling for the government to review rules on earthquakes caused by... So they want them to be allowed to cause earthquakes, basically. And you know what? They probably will allow it. The country's richest person, Jim Ratcliffe, founder of the pharmaceuticals firm Inos, branded the regulations absurd and unworkable and implied the government should consider limits closer to those in the US. Quadrilla said it had only been able to frack 5% of its well near Blackpool. We don't want you fracking anywhere. In fact, we want you to do one thing, and that's frack off. Kenyan killer of 400 people granted asylum in UK. Well, I can't possibly see any problems with that. So we've got a serial killer granted asylum. I wonder what's going to happen there, and who's going to take the fall for it. A murderer who killed up to 400 people in his homeland has been granted asylum in Britain, Daily Mail reported Tuesday. John Threw, 27, who butchered many of his victims in machete attacks in his native Kenya, has spent a decade living here in rent-free accommodation provided for by the National Asylum Support Service. He is believed to receive an allowance of up to $160 a month from the service, the Home Office unit responsible for asylum seekers' housing. Threw, who was a member of the outlawed Mungaki. Oh, I can't see any problem. No, nothing will go wrong with that, will it? Morons. DWP apologised to man deemed fit to work despite being 6 stone. What happens about the ones that have died waiting appeal? Are you apologise to them? No, but you should be looking at manslaughter charges. Despite looking like he is about to waste away, Stephen Smith was deemed fit to find work and denied vital benefits after fitness for work assessment by the Department of Work. Right, so whoever's doing that assessment wants sacking. They clearly can't do it. Shocking images show the 64-year-old man in hospital over Christmas when his severe health problems left him in such a poor state. His weight dropped to 6 stone and left him fearing for his life. He was forced to get a pass out from hospital to fight a decision by the DWP, which repeatedly denied him crucial benefit employment support allowance, ESA, and insisted he was fit and capable of finding work. Well, quite clearly, whoever they've got assessing these things are completely incapable of doing that job and needs sacking right the way up the line. Anything but independent. Put it to the people. Join the independent people's vote as we march again to demand a final say on Brexit. No, we had a final say. We voted to leave. Until we leave, we're not voting anymore because it just proves it's a waste of time. Any other voting after we voted to leave and there's no leaving, what is the point? Mirror. Liam's sexy text to model and it's not Naomi. Harry Redknapp exclusive. I'm a celeb, get him out of there. Homeless fear as Jungle King gives eviction notice to 29 needy tenants. People. Slam dunk. Dragon's Den star blast Brady over green. Martin Clunes, I enjoy being grumpy. Harry's PTSD vow to mum of fallen hero. He doesn't give a shit. Royal promise after Special Forces veteran killed himself. Doesn't give a shit. Telegraph. 800 jihadis ready to unleash ISIL on the west. US warns Britain and other allies to take captured fighters or risk wave of terror. Alexa, what's on the catwalk? That's me. Europe will suffer under no deal. Fox tells EU. Oh yeah, of course. Well, they should do. I don't know true costs of HS2, admits boss. Waste of paper star. Tom Jones exclusive. Voice star left his old pals in gutter. Teen, no idea she was pregnant. I went into a coma and woke up with a baby. Tim Hart attack on the street. Gemma and Chesney's mudlarks. Express. Government to outlaw monthly bin collections. EU food aid for no deal Britain. Friend stars in private jet terror. Yeah. Furious Brexiteers say plan is Project Fear blackmail. It's all blackmail and fear in the papers and on the news. That's why it's a waste of time reading it or listening to it. The Observer. Revealed how the Home Office hires out staff to hunt migrants. You believe that, you'll believe anything. Ministry offers to private firms and NHS. Escalation of hostile environment criticised. Anger as ministers speak halts China visit. Second attack on Mark's statue. The Sun Times. Richest man quits UK to save billions. Brexiteer Sir Jim Ratcliffe plans tax exile. Oh my God, Meghan takes her aim at male pale, stale universities. May's unity plea shattered by leaked WhatsApp messages. Nothing in them, don't waste your money. If walking is good for your health, the postman would be immortal. 2. A whale swims all day, only eats fish, only drinks water and is fat. 3. A rabbit only eats vegetable, runs and hops all day long and only lives 5 years. 4. A tortoise doesn't run and does nothing energetic, yet it lives 450 years. And you tell me to exercise? I don't think so.